Alright, with there being less than a week until the second half of 2.4 is out, with it being the brand new limited 5-star character Jiaoqiu, today I'm here with the should you summon for Jiaoqiu. This video will be taking you over his kit and Eidolons, giving some strengths, giving some weaknesses, some reasons why you'd kind of want to have him, and then obviously specific reasons why you should consider summoning or skipping. This video will also talk about mainly the Acheron team, but will also be covering overall usage. Just because obviously I don't want to have this video be a should you summon for him specifically for Acheron. This is going to be for just a overall account usage, but we'll also cover a portion with Acheron because I feel like it's kind of the main point of people considering. So it is definitely a topic I want to talk about as well. I apologize in advance if I sound a bit iffy because my nose is quite stuffy. Don't know if I'm getting sick again, hopefully not, but what can I do? Anyway, before I get to the video, drop a like, drop a sub, hit the bell icon for more videos like this. Let's get straight into it. So Jiaoqiu is a fire character following the path of nihility. His basic attack deals fire damage equal to 100% of Jiaoqiu's attack to a single target enemy. His skill deals fire damage equal to 150% of Jiaoqiu's attack to a single target enemy, and fire damage equal to 90% of Jiaoqiu's attack to adjacent targets, with 100% base chance to inflict 1 stack of Ashen Roast on the primary target. And now for his ultimate. What it does is sets the number of Ashen Roast stacks on the enemy targets to the highest number of Ashen Roast stacks present on the battlefield. Then activates a zone and deals fire damage equal to 100% of Jiaoqiu's attack to all enemies. While inside the zone, enemy targets receive 15% increased ult damage, with the 60% base chance of being inflicted with 1 stack of Ashen Roast when taking action. While the zone exists, this effect can trigger up to 6 times, and for each enemy target, it can only trigger once per turn. This trigger count resets every time Jiaoqiu uses an ultimate. The zone lasts for 3 turns and its duration decreases by 1 at the start of this unit's every turn, and if Jiaoqiu gets knocked down, the zone will be dispelled. His talent: when Jiaoqiu hits an enemy with a basic attack, skill, or ultimate, there is a 100% base chance to inflict 1 stack of Ashen Roast on them. At 1 stack, increases the damage received by the enemy by 15%, then each subsequent stack increases this by 5%. Ashen Roast is capped at 5 stacks and lasts for 2 turns. When an enemy is afflicted with Ashen Roast, they are also considered as being burned at the same time, taking fire dot damage equal to 180% of Jiaoqiu's attack at the start of each turn. His technique: after using technique, creates a special dimension that lasts for 15 seconds. After entering combat with enemies in the special dimension, deals fire damage equal to 100% of Jiaoqiu's attack to all enemies. With a 100% base chance of applying 1 Ashen Roast stack, only 1 dimension created by allies can exist at the same time. For his bonus traces, his A2, when the battle starts, immediately regenerates 15 energy. His A4, for every 15% of Jiaoqiu's effect hit rate that exceeds 80%, additionally increases attack by 60% up to 240%. And his A6, while the zone exists, enemies entering combat will be inflicted with Ashen Roast. The number of stacks applied will match the highest number of Ashen Roast stacks possessed by any unit while the zone is active, with a maximum of 1 stacks. For Jiaoqiu's Eidolons, his first Eidolon: allies deal 40% increased damage to enemies afflicted with Ashen Roast whenever inflicting Ashen Roast on an enemy target via triggering the talent's effect. Additionally increases the number of Ashen Roast stacks applied this time by 1. His E2: when an enemy target is afflicted with Ashen Roast, increases the multiplier for the fire dot dealt by Ashen Roast to this target by 300%. His E4: when the zone exists, reduces the enemy target's attack by 15%. And his E6: when an enemy target gets defeated, their accumulated Ashen Roast stacks will transfer to the enemy with the lowest number of Ashen Roast stacks on the battlefield. The maximum stack limit of Ashen Roast increases to 9, and each Ashen Roast stack reduces the target's all-type res by 3%. So as you can tell by this kit, Jiaoqiu himself is on the debuffer role. He is also able to do dot himself, so you can run him with dot. Obviously that is not his main role though. His main role is just to debuff the enemy, because with his talents and the Ashen Roast stacks, he is able to make enemies take increased damage, and with the help of his ultimate, now they're also receiving increased ultimate damage. And so some strengths of Jiaoqiu is it's very easy to set him up, and he's also able to apply these stacks by using a basic attack or a skill. So if you do need to use a basic attack, it can make him pretty skill point positive, and you don't have to absolutely burn through them. Obviously using a basic attack will mean you get less energy, but with some help you're able to quite easily set him up. He also has very easily applied damage vulnerabilities, making enemies just take increased damage from the Ashen Roast stacks from his talent, and then as I mentioned, with his ultimate up, now enemies also take increased ultimate damage. So not only are they going to be taking damage overall, so from someone's skill, they'll be taking more damage. Now for ultimate damage, they'll also be taking increased damage off that as well. And then you're also pairing that with the talent, so you're getting this bonus of damage now and ultimate damage no. And then some weaknesses for Xiaoqiu is his team options are quite limited at the moment. He is not viably replacing anyone as of yet except on the Acheron team. So outside of the Acheron team, he is not going to be too optimal. There's usually going to be better options. He once again will work on a dot team, but he is not going to be the optimal option because his dot isn't super powerful, and that's not his main goal unless you do have his E2. And that practically is the only weakness he has, because for the most part, what he's doing is fine. It's just for the fact that no one's going to use this too well, because there are also 4-star options, such as using characters that can debuff to make enemies take increased damage, being someone like Gunaifen. And then you can also just sub someone up for making enemies take more damage by reducing enemies' defense, which isn't as powerful as the vulnerability that Xiaoqiu provides, but still can work. But overall, his only weakness is just the fact that he's not the best on any other team except Acheron, because for the most part, what he provides is just done well. So for the future, there may be a character tailored towards Xiaoqiu as well, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. And now, briefly talking about it, I want to talk about why he's going to be really good with Acheron. So defense shred with Acheron is really good, but there is something better, and that is actually ult vulnerability. And that's what puts Xiaoqiu a lot higher for the debuff, because he not only makes people take more damage from the talent, he also has ultimate damage vulnerability from his own ultimate. But the number one main reason for him being the best Acheron teammate is for the fact in the ultimate, you are able to apply stacks of a debuff onto enemies when it is the enemy's turn. And what does applying debuffs mean? That means Acheron gets a stack. So when an enemy goes and they gain a debuff, that's going to give Acheron a stack. So you are able to get Acheron stacks on the enemy's turn, which is extremely broken because we know how much damage Acheron can get off ultimate, and it's pretty easy to charge it up already. So now imagine also being able to gain it off your turns where you're attacking and applying debuffs, and now you're also able to gain it off enemies' turns as well. So if you are doing a battle where the enemies might be a bit fast, that's where Xiaoqiu is really going to shine on the team, because you're able to apply all these debuffs. And since it's really easy to cycle through his ultimate, get it, and then get it back eventually, you're practically able to have this up pretty often, which is going to just generate you a bunch of stacks. So that is the main reason why he is so good for Acheron. So again, you're able to apply debuffs on the enemy's turn, giving Acheron stacks is the main reason, but because he also gives damage dealt to the enemies from his talent, but also gives ultimate vulnerability from his own ultimate to the enemies, which is going to scale a lot better than things like defense shred. And now finally talking about whether you should summon. So starting it off with the reasons on why you should summon is, first I'm going to talk specifically to Acheron players, then I'm going to talk about the general players. For Acheron people, specifically E0, regardless, I highly recommend you to summon for Xiaoqiu if you are a E0 Acheron main. Because with the things that Xiaoqiu provides, an E0 team with Acheron and Xiaoqiu can rival the stacks gained as an E2 Acheron and Sparkle, which is an insane jump because you're having this busted Harmony support and you're also having E2 on the main DPS to have those sort of benefits. So at E0, the jump on your Acheron team is going to be really big. So I definitely would recommend getting him at an E0 Acheron team. As for people with E2, it's not as the priority to get you because you're already at this 100% level of damage, and getting Xiaoqiu isn't going to be as big of a difference for you specifically because she's already doing the job so well, and now you have a Harmony buffer buffing Acheron as well. I'm not saying that Xiaoqiu would kind of make it for you to skip and you don't really need him at all, because he's still going to be the best Nihility teammate, because far and none, Xiaoqiu is the best teammate for Acheron. But at E2, you really already have this strong character that can clear every single bit of content. Even at E0, Acheron can clear all content without him. But at E0, you definitely see the benefits more, because at E2, you have the privilege of getting an extra charge when it's Acheron's turn, and also just needing one Nihility teammate. So if you are an E2 Acheron haver, getting him will definitely buff your account, but since there's so much stuff that's going to rerun that's going to benefit a lot more, like you can benefit a ton from the Sparkle rerun as well, because Xiaoqiu for a E0 Acheron is going to be way more beneficial than an E2 Acheron, because once again, with an E2 Acheron, he's still going to be extremely good and just be the best, but you can definitely live a lot more without him than someone like E0 can, because E0 with Xiaoqiu can bring him up to an E2 level, but that still means an E2 level is around the same thing. So you can take Xiaoqiu and put him on the team and buff the team even more, or you can just be happy with what you have because you're already able to clear all content, and he would just kind of take you above what you really need. and actually for the general player base. So some reasons you should summon is, one, if you look at your account and you don't really have anyone on the debuffer role, since there is characters like Dr. Ratio, and I'm sure there's characters in the future that are going to be debuff based DPSs, and he himself is very easily able to apply debuffs, and he makes enemies take more damage and also increased ultimate damage. So you could actually use him beside other characters that deal ultimate damage. So Yunli with the counters can actually work. The upcoming character Feisha will actually work as well. So getting him for that reason is going to be nice. And another big reason why you could consider stacking him is, one, obviously assuming you as the player do not have any interest in the upcoming reruns, or you have them thinking you'll be kind of spaced out so you can get him and safely save for the next character you're thinking of, is if you want to play a long game. We all know what Topaz said, and we all know what happened. Investing in the long game. And look what happened. Topaz went from what is this character to, oh my god, I need this character. I think it could honestly happen for Jiaoqiu. Maybe not as big of an impact, like not becoming an enabler of something, but he definitely could become a best in slot debuffer for a team, and he could pair very well with another future DPS or just teams in the future in general. So if you want to play it safe, you could definitely stack him for that reason. And even if that doesn't end up being the case, once again, you do have this debuffer that works really well anyways. So you pair him with Ratio, pair him with characters that do ult damage, and he's going to function completely fine. Even characters that don't do ult damage can benefit from him because he does also inflict enemies with taking increased damage. And if you're interested with taking him on a dot team, say if you don't have another teammate to put on that team, he can also fit in there well. Obviously not the best, but still can work. So even if the future does not hold him and you're not an Acheron main, but you're still interested in getting him just in case, you can still find uses for him on your account. And then reasons why you shouldn't summon for him is if you really aren't interested in taking the risk of him becoming more valuable in the future. Another reason is if you're just not happy with what he does, because you can still find completely good value with 4-star characters that could perform the role of him a little bit worse, but still at a level that's competent. Like once again, you could just easily take a Build Gwenifin. You could take characters like Pela. Maybe you even have a Black Swan sitting around for a 5-star limited already that you can use as a debuffer. There are already really good debuffs in the game. Once again, those characters, Silverwolf, even Welt. You're just not interested in another character that has just debuffs and doesn't bring anything unique besides being able to apply stacks on enemies' turns, which for now really only benefits Acheron, but again could become something in the future. So if you're not really interested in that, then you could safely skip. And then the other reason is if you're saving for someone that's upcoming, because once again we do have crazy characters to rerun. Acheron herself, Aventurine, Sparkle is going to be with Jiaoqiu. We have characters like Black Swan, Robin, and then upcoming characters like Feisha, Linksha. If you're considering them more and you kind of fall into the category where you don't want to summon for Jiaoqiu because you're not really interested in taking the chance that he might be more valuable in the future, and you already have debuffers on your account that work completely fine, then you could safely skip. So yeah, that is the video. That is the should you summon for Jiaoqiu. Me personally, I was saying I was gonna skip him, but honestly, his design is starting to grow on me for some reason, and I don't know why. I really did not like him in the story much because he didn't really do anything. He even called himself useless, so I'm just like, how do I warrant this? But he does have the Oberon VA, and I'm like, if I'm really gonna be going for E0 S1 on the characters after him anyways, I think I could probably get one copy of him, even if it's without his Lycon, just a copy, because you know, if he does become super valuable in the future, it's best to have at least one of him, even without his Lycon, because him without his Lycon is still going to work completely fine. Lycon really good, but yeah, I don't know. So I'm thinking about it. I might actually get him. But yeah, let me know if you guys are going to be summoning for him, because he is out in less than a week. And yep, again, hope you found the video helpful. Peace out.